Index of the Project Gutenberg Works of Leo Tolstoy ******* Index of the Project Gutenberg Works of Leo Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy, compiled by David Widger Tolstoy. Contents. Click on the # before many of the titles to view a linked table of contents for that volume. Click on the title itself to open the original online file. ## The Forged Coupon and Others ## The Cruiser Sonata and Others ## Father Sergius ## Master and Man ## Anna Karenina ## Resurrection ## Childhood ## Boyhood ## Youth ## War and Peace Census and What to Do on the Significance of Science and Art ## The Cossacks ## What Men Live By and Other Tales ## A Letter to a Hindu ## The Awakening ## Plays, Complete Edition The Power of Darkness Bethink Yourselves Tolstoy on Shakespeare ## Fables for Children, Stories for Children Where Love is Their God is also ## A Russian Proprietor and Others What Shall We Do My Religion ## Katia ## Journal of Leo Tolstoy, Vol. I 1895–1899, ## Sevastopol ## 3 Days in the Village and Others ## Tolstoy for the Young ## The Invaders and Other Stories Tables of Contents of Volumes The Forged Coupon, and Other Stories by Leo Tolstoy. Contents. Introduction. List of posthumous works. The Forged Coupon Part 1st Part 2nd After the Dance Alyosha the Pot My Dream There Are No Guilty People The Young Tsar The Cruiser Sonata, and Other Stories by Count Leo Tolstoy. Contents. Translator's Preface. The Cruiser Sonata. Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Chapter 23 Chapter XIV Chapter XXV Chapter XXVI Chapter XXVIII Chapter XXVIII Lesson of the Cruiser Sonata. Ivan the Fool. Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 A Lost Opportunity. Polikushka, Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 The Candle. Father Sergius by Leo Tolstoy. Contents I234v6 Master and Man by Leo Tolstoy. Translated by Louise and Aylmer Maud. Contents I234v6 789x Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Translated by Constance Garnett. Contents Part 1 Part 2 Part 3 Part 4 Part 5 Part 6 Part 7 Part 8 Resurrection Resurrection by Leo Tolstoy, translated by Mrs. Louise Maud. Contents: Translators Preface. Resurrection Book I. Chapter I. Maslova in Prison. Chapter 2. Maslova's Early Life. Chapter 3. Nekhludoff. Chapter 4. Missy. Chapter V. The Juryman. Chapter 6. The Judges. Chapter 7. The Officials of the Court. Chapter 8. Swearing in the Jury. Chapter 9. The Trial. The Prisoners Questioned. Chapter X. The Trial. The Indictment. Chapter 11. The Trial. Maslova cross-examined. Chapter 12. 12 years before. Chapter 13. Life in the Army. Chapter 14. The second meeting with Maslova. Chapter 15. The Early Mass. Chapter 16. The First Step. Chapter 17. Nekhludoff and Kata Shah. Chapter 18. Afterwards. Chapter 19. The Trial. Resumption. Chapter XX. The Trial. The Medical Report. Chapter XXI. The Trial. The Prosecutor and the Advocates. Chapter XXII. The Trial. The Summing Up. Chapter 23. The Trial. The Verdict. Chapter XXV. The Trial. The Sentence. Chapter XXV. Nekhludoff consults an advocate. Chapter XXVI. The House of Kachagin. Chapter XXVIII. Missy's Mother. Chapter XXVIII. The Awakening. Chapter XXVI. Maslova in Prison. Chapter XXX. The Cell. Chapter XXXI. The Prisoners. Chapter XXVII. A Prison Quarrel. Chapter XXXII. The Leaven at Work. Nekhludoff's Domestic Changes. Chapter XXV. The Absurdity of Law. Reflections of a Juryman. Chapter XXXV. The Procurer. Nekhludoff refuses to serve. Chapter XXV. Nekhludoff endeavors to visit Maslova. Chapter XXVIII. Maslova recalls the past. Chapter XXVIII. Sunday in prison. Preparing for Mass. Chapter XXVI. The Prison Church. Blind Leaders of the Blind. Chapter XL. The Husks of Religion. Chapter XLI. Visiting Day. The Men's Ward. Chapter XLII. Visiting Day. The Women's Ward. Chapter XLII. Nekhludoff visits Maslova. Chapter XLIV. Maslova's View of Life. Chapter XLV. Fanarin. The Advocate. The Petition. Chapter XLVI. A Prison Flogging. Chapter XLI. Nekhludoff again visits Maslova. Chapter XLVIII. Maslova refuses to marry. Chapter XLIX. Vera Dalkova. Chapter L. The Vice-Governor of the Prison. Chapter Li. The Cells. Chapter LII. No 21. Chapter LII. Victims of Government. Chapter Live. Prisoners and Friends. Chapter LV. Vera Dalkova explains. Chapter LVI. Nekhludoff and the Prisoners. Chapter LVII. The Vice-Governors at Home. Chapter Late. The Vice-Governor Suspicious. Chapter LIX. Nekhludoff's third interview with Maslova in Prison. Book 2. Chapter I. Property in Land. Chapter 2. Efforts at Land Restoration. Chapter 3. Old Associations. Chapter 4. The Peasant's Lot. Chapter V. Maslova's Aunt. Chapter 6. Reflections of a Landlord. Chapter 7. The Disinherited. Chapter 8. God's Peace in the Heart. Chapter 9. The Land Settlement. Chapter X. Nekhludoff returns to town. Chapter 11. An Advocate's Views on Judges and Prosecutors. Chapter 12. Why the Peasants Flock to Town. Chapter 13. Nurse Maslova. Chapter 14. An Aristocratic Circle. Chapter 15. An Average Statesman. Chapter 16. An Up-to-Date Senator. Chapter 17. Countess Katerina Ivanovna's Dinner Party. Chapter 18. Officialdom. Chapter 19. An Old General of Repute. Chapter XX. Maslova's Appeal. Chapter XXI. The Appeal Dismissed. Chapter XXII. An Old Friend. Chapter 23. The Public Prosecutor. Chapter XXV. Mariah Temp. Acts Nekludov Chapter XXV Lydia Shustova's Home Chapter XXVI Lydia's Aunt Chapter XXVIII The State Church and the People Chapter XXVIII The Meaning of Maria's Attraction Chapter XXVI For her sake and for God's Chapter XXX The Astonishing Institution Called Criminal Law Chapter XXXI Nekludov's Sister and Her Husband Chapter XXI Nekludov's Anarchism Chapter XXXII The Aim of the Law Chapter XXV The Prisoner's Start for Siberia Chapter XXXV Not men but strange and terrible creatures. Chapter XXV The Tender Mercies of the Lord. Chapter XXVIII Spilled like water on the ground. Chapter XXVIII The Convict Train Chapter XXVI Brother and Sister Chapter XL The Fundamental Law of Human Life. Chapter XLI Taraz's Story Chapter XLI I La Vie Grand Monde Book 3 Chapter I Maslova Makes New Friends Chapter 2 An Incident of the March Chapter 3 Mary Pavlovna Chapter 4 Simonson Chapter V The Political Prisoners Chapter 6 Kryltsov's Story Chapter 7 Nekludov seeks an interview with Maslova Chapter 8 Nekludov and the Officer Chapter 9 The Political Prisoners Chapter X Marka Devkin Chapter 11 Maslova and her companions Chapter 12 Nabatov and Markel Chapter 13 Love Affairs of the Exiles Chapter 14 Conversations in Prison Chapter 15 Novodvorov Chapter 16 Simonson speaks to Nekludov Chapter 17 I have nothing more to say. Chapter 18 Neverov's Fate Chapter 19 Why is it done? Chapter XX The Journey Resumed Chapter XXI Just a Worthless Tramp Chapter XXII Nekludov sees the General Chapter 23 The Sentence Commuted Chapter XXV The General's Household Chapter XXV Maslova's Decision Chapter XXVI The English Visitor Chapter XXVIII Kryltsov at Rest Chapter XXVIII A New Life Dawns for Nekludov Childhood by Leo Tolstoy translated by C.J. Hogarth Contents I The Tutor, Karl Ivanich 2 Mama 3 Papa 4 Lessons V The Idiot 6 Preparations for the Chase 7 The Hunt 8 We Play Games 9 A First Essay in Love X The Sort of Man My Father Was 11 In the Drawing Room and the Study 12 Grisha 13 Natalia Savishna 14 The Parting 15 Childhood 16 Verse Making 17 The Princess Kanakov 18 Prince Ivan Ivanovich 19 The Rewinds XX Preparations for the Party XXI Before the Mazurka XXI The Mazurka 23 After the Mazurka XXV In Bed XXV The Letter XXVI What Awaited US at the Country House XXVIII Grief XXVIII Sad Recollections Boyhood by Leo Tolstoy translated by C.J. Hogarth Contents I A Slow Journey to the Thunderstorm 3 A New Point of View 4 In Moscow v My Elder Brother 6 Masha 7 Small Shot 8 Karl Ivanich's History 9 Continuation of Karl's Narrative X Conclusion of Karl's Narrative 11 1 Mark only 12 The Key 13 The Traitress 14 The Retribution 15 Dreams 16 Keep on grinding, and you'll have flour 17 Hatred 18 The Maid Servant's Room 19 Boyhood XX Wolodar XXI Katenkar and Lubitschka XXII. Papa 23. Grandmama Ksiv. Myself XXV. Wolodar's friends XXVI. Discussions XXAE. The Beginning of Our Friendship Youth by Leo Tolstoy. Tolstoy. Translated by C.J. Hogarth. Contents I. What I consider to have been the beginning of my youth. 2. Springtime. 3. Dreams. 4. Our family circle. V. My rules. 6. Confessions. 7. The expedition to the monastery. 8. The second confession. 9. How I prepared myself for the examinations. X. The examination in history. 11. My examination in mathematics. 12. My examination in Latin. 13. I become grown up. 14. How Wolodar and Dubkoff amused themselves. 15. I am feted at dinner. 16. The quarrel. 17. I get ready to pay some calls. 18. The Valakhin family. 19. The Konakoffs. XX. The Uwines. XXI. Prince Ivan Ivanovich. XXII. Intimate conversation with my friend. 23. The Nekludovs. Ksiv. Love. XXV. I become better acquainted with the Nekludovs. XXV. I show off. XXAE. Dmitry. XXVIII. In the country. XXVI. Relations between the girls and ourselves. XXX. How I employed my time. XXX. I com I elf out. XXY. Youth. XXXII. Our neighbors. XXV. My father's second marriage. XXXV. How we received the news. XXV. The university. XXAE. Affairs of the heart. XXVIII. The world. XXVI. The students' feast. XL. My friendship with the Nekludovs. XLI. My friendship with the Nekludovs. XLII. Our stepmother. XLII. New comrades. Xliv. Zuchin and Semenov. XLV. I come to grief. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Tolstoy. Contents. Book 1. 1805. Chapter I. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter V. Chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Chapter X. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Chapter 16. Chapter 17. Chapter 18. Chapter 19. Chapter XX. Chapter XXI. Chapter XXII. Chapter 23. Chapter XIV. Chapter XXV. Chapter XXVI. Chapter XXAE. Chapter XXVIII. Book 2. 1805. Chapter I. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter V. Chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Chapter X. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Chapter 16. Chapter 17. Chapter 18. Chapter 19. Chapter XX. Chapter XXI. Book 3. 1805. Chapter I. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter V. Chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Chapter X. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Chapter 16. Chapter 17. Chapter 18. Chapter 19. Book 4. 1806. Chapter I. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter V. Chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Chapter X. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Chapter 16. Book 5. 1806. 07. Chapter I. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Chapter V. Chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 8. Chapter 9. Chapter X. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Chapter 16. Chapter 17. Chapter 18. Chapter 19. Chapter XX. Chapter XXI. Chapter XXII. Book 6. 1808 to 10 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Chapter 23 Chapter XXV Chapter XXV Chapter XXVI Book 7 1810 to 11 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Book 8 1811 to 12 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Book 9, 1812 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Chapter 23 Book 10 1812 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Chapter 23 Chapter XXV Chapter XXV Chapter XXVI Chapter XXAE Chapter XXVIII Chapter XXVI Chapter XXX Chapter XXXI Chapter XXY Chapter XXXII Chapter XXV Chapter XXXV Chapter XXV Chapter XXAE Chapter XXVIII Chapter XXVI Book 11, 1812 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Chapter XX Chapter XXI Chapter XXII Chapter 23 Chapter XXV Chapter XXV Chapter XXVI Chapter XXAE Chapter XXVIII Chapter XXVI Chapter XXX Chapter XXXI Chapter XXY Chapter XXXII Chapter XXV Book 12 1812 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Book 13 1812 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4 Chapter V Chapter 6 Chapter 7 Chapter 8 Chapter 9 Chapter X Chapter 11 Chapter 12 Chapter 13 Chapter 14 Chapter 15 Chapter 16 Chapter 17 Chapter 18 Chapter 19 Book 14 1812 Chapter I Chapter 2 Chapter 3 Chapter 4, Chapter V, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, Chapter X, Chapter 11, Chapter 12, Chapter 13, Chapter 14, Chapter 15, Chapter 16, Chapter 17, Chapter 18, Chapter 19, Book 15. 1812 to 13, Chapter I, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter V, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, Chapter X, Chapter 11, Chapter 12, Chapter 13, Chapter 14, Chapter 15, Chapter 16, Chapter 17, Chapter 18, Chapter 19, Chapter XX. First Epilogue. 1813 to 20, Chapter I, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter V, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, Chapter X, Chapter 11, Chapter 12, Chapter 13, Chapter 14, Chapter 15, Chapter 16. Second Epilogue. Chapter I, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter V, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, Chapter X, Chapter 11, Chapter 12. The Cossacks, A Tale of 1852 by Leo Tolstoy, translated by Louise and Aylmer Maud. Contents: Chapter I, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter V, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, Chapter 9. Chapter X, Chapter 11, Chapter 12, Chapter 13, Chapter 14, Chapter 15, Chapter 16, Chapter 17, Chapter 18, Chapter 19, Chapter XX, Chapter XXI, Chapter XXII, Chapter 23, Chapter XXV, Chapter XXV, Chapter XXVI, Chapter XXVIII, Chapter XXVIII, Chapter XXVI, Chapter XXX, Chapter XXXI, Chapter XXY, Chapter XXXII, Chapter XXV, Chapter XXXV, Chapter XXV, Chapter XXVIII, Chapter XXVIII, Chapter XXVI, Chapter XL, Chapter XLI, Chapter XLII. What Men Live By and Other Tales by Leo Tolstoy. Contents: What Men Live By. I2 3 4 V 6 7 8 9 X 11 12 3 Questions. The Coffee House of Surat. How much land does a man need? I2 3 4 V 6 7 8 9 Notes. A Letter to a Hindu. The Subjection of India, Its Cause and Cure, with an introduction by M. K. Gandhi. Leo Tolstoy. Contents: Introduction. A Letter to a Hindu. I2 3 4 V 6 7 The Awakening, The Resurrection, by Count Leo Tolstoy. Contents: Part 1st, Chapter I5, Chapter 2 8, Chapter 3 13, Chapter 4 18, Chapter V 20, Chapter 6 23, Chapter 7 26, Chapter 8 29, Chapter 9 32, Chapter X 36, Chapter 11 39, Chapter 12 45, Chapter 13 49, Chapter 14 52, Chapter 15 55. Chapter 16 60, Chapter 17 63, Chapter 18 65, Chapter 19 67, Chapter XX 70, Chapter XXI 73, Chapter XXII 78, Chapter 23 80, Chapter XXV 87, Chapter XXV 90, Chapter XXVI 92, Chapter XXAE 97, Chapter XXVIII 101, Chapter XXVI 107, Chapter XXX 110, Chapter XXXI 113, Chapter XXY 116, Chapter XXXII 120, Chapter XXV 124, Chapter XXXV 127, Chapter XXV 130 chapter XXA 132 chapter XXA 135 chapter XX 137 chapter XL 142 chapter XLI 145 chapter XLII 149 chapter XLII 151 chapter XLIV 156 chapter XLV 159 chapter XLVI 161 chapter XLAE 165 chapter XLATE 168 chapter XLIX 171 chapter L 175 chapter LI 177 chapter LII 179 chapter LII 181 chapter LIV 183 chapter LV 185 chapter LVI 189 chapter LVII 191 part 2nd chapter I 196 chapter 2 201 chapter 3 203 chapter 4 207 chapter V 210 chapter 6 215 chapter 7 219 chapter 8 220 chapter 9 226 chapter X 231 chapter 11 235 chapter 12 238 chapter 13 241 chapter 14 244 chapter 15 248 chapter 16 250 chapter 17 254 chapter 18 260 chapter 19 264 chapter XX 266 chapter XXI 271 chapter XXII 274 chapter 23 279 chapter XIV 282 chapter XXV 287 part 3rd chapter I 290 chapter 2 292 chapter 3 294 chapter 4 295 chapter V 297 chapter 6 301 chapter 7 304 chapter 8 311 chapter 9 314 chapter X 316 Transcriber's notes. List of illustrations Count Leo Tolstoy Prince Nekhlude of the Prisoner's Easter Services Warden and Matron Plays Complete Edition, including the posthumous plays by Leo Tolstoy. Translator Louise Maud and Aylmer Maud. Illustrations Matryono gives Anisia the powders. Facing page 12. I'm not ashamed of my parent. Facing page 51. Her box is full as it is. Facing page 53. You tell me not to fear men. Facing page 91. Well, dear, and what progression is our business making? Facing page 174. There, you see. You are being made a fool of. Facing page 223. Contents page. Plays published during Tolstoy's life. The Power of Darkness, 1886. 3. The First Distiller, 1886. 97. Fruits of Culture, 1889. 125 posthumous plays. The Live Corpse, 229 The Cause of It All, 303 The Light Shines in Darkness, 321 Fables for Children, Stories for Children, Natural Science Stories, Popular Education, Decembrists, Moral Tales by Count Lev N. Tolstoy, translated by Leo Wiener. Contents Fables for Children, children. Aesop's Fables 3. Adaptations and imitations of Hindu fables. 19 Stories for children. The Foundling. 39 The Peasant and the Cucumbers. 40 The Fire. 41 The Old Horse. 43 How I Learned to Ride. 46 The Willow. 49 Bulka. 51 Bulka and the Wild Boar. 53 Pheasants. 56 Milton and Bulka. 58 The Turtle. 60 Bulka and the Wolf. 62 What Happened to Bulka in Pyatigorsk. 65 Bulkas and Milton's End. 68 The Grey Hare. 70 God sees the truth, but does not tell at once. 72 Hunting worse than slavery. 82 A Prisoner of the Caucasus. 92 Ermak. 124 Natural Science Stories. Stories from Physics. The Magnet. 137 Moisture. 140 The Different Connection of Particles. 142 Crystals. 143 Injurious Air. 146 How Balloons Are Made. 150 Galvanism. 152 The Sun's Heat. 156 Stories from Zoology. The Owl and the Hare. 159 How the Wolves Teach Their Whelps. 160 Hares and Wolves. 161 The Scent. 162 Touch and Sight. 164 The Silkworm. 165 Stories from Botany. The Apple Tree. 170 The Old Poplar. 172 The Bird Cherry. 174 How Trees Walk. 176 The Decembrists. 181 Unpopular Education. 251 What Men Live by. 327 The Three Hermits. 363 Neglect the Fire. 375 The Candle. 395 The Two Old Men. 409 Where Love Is, Their God Is also. 445 Texts for Chapbook Illustrations. The Fiend Persists, but God Resists. 463 Little Girls Wiser Than Old People. 466 The Two Brothers and the Gold. 469 Elias. 472 A Fairy Tale About Ivan the Fool. 481 List of Illustrations. The Clark beat Cider's face until the blood came. The Candle. See page 397, frontispiece. Whose knife is this? 73 God will forgive you. 81 They rode off to the mountains. 96 Whither are you bound? 332 But the candle was still burning. 403 Russian proprietor and other stories. Contents: A Russian proprietor. 1 Lucerne. 87 Recollections of a Scorer. 123 Albert. 148 2 Hussars. 193 Deaths. 286 A Prisoner in the Caucasus. 308 Katia by Count Leon Tolstoy. Contents: I, 2, 3, 4, v, 6, 7, 8, 9. The Journal of Leo Tolstoy, First Volume 1895–1899, translated from the Russian by Rose Strunsky. Contents: Introduction. Rose Strunsky, V. Journal, 3 1895, October, 3 November, 4 December, 8 1896, January, 19 February, 21 March, 29 May, 31 June, 56 July, 61 September, 70 October, 74 November, 87 December, 99 1897, January, 113 February, 117 March, 134 April, 137 May, 139 July, 140 August, 144 September, 148 October, 150 November, 163 December, 177, 1898. January, 193 February, 199 March, 210 April, 219 May, 226 June, 232 July, 243 August, 246 November, 256, 1899, January, 269 February, 269 June, 270 July, 276 September, 277 October, 283 November, 291 December, 292 Explanatory Notes to Text by V. G. Chertkov, 299 A Short Sketch of the Life of Tolstoy at the End of the 90s, by C. Shokotrotsky, 387 Index, 409 Sevastopol by Count Leo Tolstoy, translated by Isabel F. Hapgood. Contents page. Sevastopol in December 1854. 5 Sevastopol in May 1855. 37 Sevastopol in August 1855. 123 3 Days in the Village and Other Sketches written from September 1909 to July 1910 by Leo Tolstoy, translated by L. and Amord. Contents: 3 Days in the Village, First Day, Tramps 7 Second Day, The Living and the Dying 23rd Day, Taxes 33 Conclusion, A Dream 41 Singing in the Village 55 Traveler and Peasant 63 A Talk with a Wayfarer 75 From the Diary 79 Tolstoy for the Young, translated by Mrs. R. S. Townsend, with 6 colored plates by Michel Sevilla. Contents page. Ivan the Fool 1 Where There Is Love, There Is God Also 57 A Prisoner 82 Emelian and the Empty Drum 138 The Great Bear 156 3 Questions 158 The Godson 167 List of colored plates. Ivan the Fool frontispiece. Where There Is Love, There Is God Also to face P57 A Prisoner 82 Emelian and the Empty Drum 138 3 Questions 158 The Godson 167 The Invaders and Other Stories by Count Leo Tolstoy, translated by Nathan Haskell Dole. Contents: The Invaders, The Woodcutting Expedition, An Old Acquaintance, Lost on the Steppe, or The Snowstorm, Polakushka, Kholstomir. End of the Project Gutenberg ebook. Index of the Project Gutenberg works of Leo Tolstoy. Updated editions will replace the previous one. The old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose, such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works. By using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg, you agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Symbol Electronic Works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg. 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1 Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2 Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3 Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4 Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5 Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6 Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116. 801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form, accessible by the widest array of equipment including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Electronic Works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.